Cambridge Dictionary defines a cyclone as a violent and often destructive storm in which the wind moves very fast in a circular direction. But what if there was a different kind of cyclone? One that roared not in the skies, but on the asphalt. Mercury often followed Ford's lead in the muscle car era, inheriting many of its high-powered engines. But as sharp as the Cougar was, it wasn't able to run with the Mustang. The company's other models were unable to carve their names into the annals of automotive history either. Then came the aforementioned storm, harnessed and transformed into metal, rubber, and raw power. A tempest on wheels, born to dominate the streets and the racetracks alike. It was the 1970 Mercury Cyclone spoiler, the greatest muscle car in the brand's history. Power, vanity, and a big block engine. It had all the makings of a muscle car sensation. But sometimes, even the most formidable storms can pass unnoticed, but their impact remains indelible. The Cyclone spoiler is an example of this, as it happens to be the most underrated muscle car with a big block engine. It is therefore our duty to pay homage to such a beast of a vehicle. Act 1. The emergence of an unsung hero. The Cyclone has humble origins as it debuted as part of the Mercury Comet lineup, an optional package. This was similar to the mighty Pontiac GTO, which became a household name while the Cyclone watched from the shadows. The Comet was a compact vehicle built for cruising around, and its high-performance version was dubbed as the Cyclone Comet. In 1965, the Cyclone began to assume its very own identity, separate from the Comet. It became more aggressive and powerful as the years went on. Then, in 1968, it finally happened. Mercury began to give the Cyclone the respect that it commanded, selling it as a separate standalone model. The spoiler package was the icing on the cake, adding some extra racing-inspired flair to it. Act 2. Different from the rest. The Cyclone managed to look apart in an era of crazy muscle cars. This was largely due to the gun-sight grille, which was the highlight of its aggressive styling. At the same time, it was more upscale and comfortable than your average Ford muscle car. Opting for the spoiler trim got you the niceties, which included front and rear spoilers, of course. The unique palette of colors included competition yellow, blue, gold, green, and orange. Adding a couple of racing stripes, and you've got the ideal muscle car for your kid's bedroom poster. On the inside, you've got a 140 mph speedometer with a 4-gauge suite, an 8,000 RPM tachometer with adjustable redline, vinyl bucket seats, and racing mirrors. An integrated functional hood scoop gave you enhanced ram air induction, and a competition suspension package did as the name suggested. It gave you a competitive suspension. The rear spoiler channeled the air to increase downforce for greater stability at high speeds. Act 3. The Beast Within. You got a monster of a power plant underneath the hood, the Cobra 429. It had a displacement of 7 liters and would churn up 370 horses and 450 torques. If the car came with the Super Cobra Jet package, it offered an enhanced engine that made between 375 and 400 horsepowers. Act 4. An athlete. With great power comes great responsibility, and the Cyclone and the spoiler version delivered. The later got several NASCAR wins, being driven by legends like Cale Yarborough and Don Nicholson. The success of the Cyclone models led to the development of unique styles of production. Muscle cars aerodynamically optimized for pit car racing. So not only did it dominate, but it also inspired the competition. Act 5. The Price of Glory. The Mercury Cyclone spoiler is a rare one, as only 341 units were manufactured, with fewer remaining in working condition today. However, it isn't as pricey as you think it is. This is because it has 3 stacked angles on its grille, instead of the blue oval, or a 4-pointed star. In simpler words, it's a Mercury, not a Ford or a Lincoln, and therefore its value is less. According to an article by Hot Cars, Mercury's most recent Cyclone spoiler closed at around $48,000, while Bring a Trailer's most recent auction closed at $50,000. In contrast, Barrett Jackson recently sold a Lincoln Torino 429 a cousin of the Cyclone, for 88 Gs, while Bring a Trailer sold one for 77. The Cyclone spoiler sounds like a bargain, doesn't it? But if that is too much for you, and you still want one, you could go for a base Cyclone with a 429 engine. Such a purchase should set you back around 30 grand. Act 6. The Fall from Grace. As good as the Cyclone models were, the Mercury Cougar was the start of the show, and it overshadowed them. In the Ford family, the Ford Mustang and the Lincoln Torino were considered the showstoppers. Mercury tried their hand at portraying it as their muscle car offering, but it was still underappreciated. The Cyclone would be eventually discontinued in 1971, becoming an option package for the Mercury Montego a year later. Though it managed success in NASCAR, they still weren't able to sell too many of them. It was the ideal muscle car at the time, but it was launched at a difficult time. Oil prices were going up, and so people wanted more miles per gallon than smiles. Imagine an alternative reality in which Mercury would have achieved commercial success with this car. The company had big plans for it, as shown by the Cyclone Spoiler 2 concept. The final curtain call. The 1970 Cyclone Spoiler story is a testament to the challenges faced by even the most capable vehicles in the ever-changing automotive landscape. Due to poor sales, its thunderous roar was gradually drowned out. But for those who appreciate the raw power and unique charm of classic big block muscle cars, it was a must to show such a piece of engineering the respect that it deserves. Thank you for watching. Until next time, see you on the road.